So right before I took my break, I did a video where I named top 5 comics that I really enjoyed that nobody else seemed to like. And today I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to name comics that everybody seemed to really like, or for the general population enjoyed, or critics really enjoyed. That me, I just couldn't really get into these stories. And they're going to be from every genre and every company, so it's not just focused on the big two. It could be anybody. Anyway, let's get to 5 comics that didn't really gel well with James here. Coming at number 5 is The Wicked and Divine. So what's it about? Gods are living amongst us. They are trying to blend in with society. But of course, someone is playing them and starting to murder them. But this title, I really just couldn't get into it. I felt often the dialogue was just long-winded and uninteresting. And the plot just jumped all over the place. And it's a pretty book, but nothing really stuck with me. Like, the character designs just felt either over the top or just not interesting enough that I remember anybody. The series is highly loved. I mean, a lot of people really like it, and every time I try to get back into it, I just can't. I just tried reading the 3rd volume, and this comic just doesn't do anything for me. The Dark Knight Returns. Surprise, surprise. You would have to know, if you know me and you've been watching my videos for a while, that there was going to be a Frank Miller title, and it's going to be on this list. This, to me, though, I just couldn't get with it. I really try to enjoy this story, but the cynical look into the future, into this old gritty Batman, I just didn't find it interesting. I know it's weird because I love the Dark Knight, you know, but here I don't really like it. I don't like the horrible overview or the look of it and the feel of this comic. It just feels very dreadful and not in a good way. Don't get me wrong, I give it a lot of credit for the mythos of Batman here and changing Batman to be more of a dark character, and it did give him a lot of great stories where it was more dark in nature, but this just doesn't work for me at all, and I think it's actually one of the more overrated comics out there. But anyway, just saying, I didn't like this one all that much. Journey into Mystery. Now and again, I kind of expect to love titles like this, like the ones that nobody really reads except just comic people, and then they tell you gotta read this. And I was really excited because it had this young kid Loki. I was like, all right, this sounds great. This sounds super fun and exciting, and it's boring. That's the problem. It's just a bunch of plot lines by little kid Loki who is scheming, but at the same time he's trying to be a hero, since all his dark nature has been kind of just stripped from him and he is new. And it sounds like a wonderful story, something different, a redemption story while trying to prove that you're not who you used to be type of thing. But I just couldn't get into it. The plot was just all over the place. I thought a lot of the events really interfered with this title and not in a good way. And I just didn't like. I mean, I enjoyed the one thing I did enjoy about the series was the ending and what it led to. That was cool, but everything else, I hardly remember it. This is one that is loved by many, but for me, I just couldn't get into it. A Long Halloween. I know a lot of people love this story, and they find me crazy for liking Hush far more than A Long Halloween, but I do. This series is, and I know I've used this word already, very long-winded. It's a mystery story that's easy to call from a mile away who the killer is. And the art, I didn't really enjoy the overall look of this story. I don't know, just the story kind of just dragged over and over, and I was trying to just wait to get to the ending. I couldn't really tell you why people enjoy this one so much. I think I guess the murder mystery and being Batman as a detective is more fun, but for me, this is just kind of an okay Batman story. It's not the worst I've ever read, but I just never really got the love for it. But yep, this one didn't work for me, so definitely on my list for people who love this story, but not for Whitey here. AllStar Superman. I almost said All-Star Batman. That would have been funny because everybody hates that story. Anyway, All-Star Superman, the comic by Grant Morrison that just doesn't work for me. It's weird because I like Superman a lot. I think he has some great comics at times, and I think a lot of people in the world consider this comic his defining moment. To me, I didn't like it at all. I find it dull. I think the strange story structure didn't work in its favor. The lifeless emotions, to me anyway, for the dialogue, just all fell really flat. I get why people love it in a way, I do, but for me, it's really the least appealing major Superman story ever created. I mean, it's not as bad as like New 52 Superman. I'm not ridiculous like that, but this story really gets so much love, and I would nominate like 20 other stories that I've read in the Superman mythos that are way better than this. So yeah, I just don't get it, but this is probably the biggest one where people love, absolutely love this story, and I just can't get into it at all. But that is my top 5 for comics that people love, critics love, the audience loves, or the majority, the popular vote, is that these comics are liked and loved by a lot. Me, I couldn't really get into any of these, or I read them and I didn't really enjoy them that much. There's a lot of comics out there where you probably just don't understand, or you do understand why people love it, the general population, but you don't. So I'd like you guys to list those. I'm always eager to read those and find out why. Just give a little reason. It doesn't have to be a big explanation. But yeah, name some comics that you just don't understand why they're so loved, and want to understand why everybody loves them so much. Anyway, this is my list. I hope you enjoyed it. Everybody be respectful in the comment section. We try to keep it, you know, somewhat decent here instead of other comic channels I'm not going to name who are all negative. This is more of a fun video for me, anyway, of naming these titles that didn't work for me, but work for everybody else. Anyway, list yours below. Everybody else, have a good day.